Hello all my Kinvians, and welcome to a first reaction not in my car because Jill went with me and she was tired, so we decided to just come on home. But I just saw Doctor Strange, and I'm just gonna come out right out and say it. If you're a fan of Marvel movies, don't give it a second thought. You're gonna want to see this movie because it's really good. But I want to give you some thoughts on why, obviously without doing my best to not spoil anything. Well, before I get into the details though, I asked Jill what she thought, and she said she would probably give it a 4 or a 5 out of 5. She couldn't really come to a decision, so we'll just say a 4 out of 5 there. And I have to completely agree with her. I don't think this was one of the absolute best Marvel movies that has come out, but it's definitely one of the most high quality ones. It was just really, really good, and for some people I honestly think this may end up being one of their favorites. It just depends entirely on your preferences. But let's get right into some of my favorite things about this movie. First of all, Benedict Cumberbatch. He is phenomenal in the role of Stephen Strange. I'm sorry, Dr. Stephen Strange, or Mr. Dr. Stephen Strange. That'll make sense if you've seen the movie. But I am so happy that he is a part of the Marvel Universe now, because, I mean, I love him in Sherlock, I've loved him in other roles that I've seen him in, none of which unfortunately really come to mind right at this moment, but he's always been a good actor. But he really pulled off Stephen Strange in this movie. And admittedly, I don't know a lot about Doctor Strange in Marvel Comics. He is one of those, I guess you would say, sort of side characters that pops up every now and then in the comics I have read, but he's never really been a central character, from the ones that I've seen. But from what I do know about him, he aced it with this movie. Just the personality was on point. The way he pulled off the jokes and the humor and the snarky comments was just so well done. And I know a lot of people are getting kind of sick of, the snarky comments, dialogue, especially in the Avengers movies that were directed by Joss Whedon. I personally love them, but this is actually, I would say, almost a step above that. It was like it felt more natural in this movie when those sort of snarky comments were made. So I really like that. But speaking of which, I have to say, of the Doctor Strange character, one of his most iconic garments, I guess you would say, is his cloak. This huge red cloak with, like, basically beyond Dracula parts or things right here. I don't know what you would call that exactly. Flaps. I don't know. But anyway, it's in this movie. I'm almost afraid that this is going to be a spoiler. But let me just say that the cloak is a character in and of itself. And if you've seen the movie, write in the comments down below, true or false, the cloak is basically carpet from Aladdin. True or false? I guess that's sort of a spoiler, but oh well, it won't make sense unless you actually see the movie. Some of the other things, just overall, the acting in this movie was really, really well done. It was a really sharp combination of the acting along with the special effects. And the special effects in this movie, that it could be a mixed bag for some people. There were certain elements that you've probably seen in the trailers, kind of, well, not even just kind of, really ripping off a lot of what they did in Inception, but even taking it further than Inception did. But all the same, those scenes were just phenomenal. And then these very, I don't know how to describe it other than acid trippy scenes, especially when Stephen is first, I guess, learning about the multiverse, or like all the different universes, and he sees all these things. It gets crazy trippy for a while through a few different parts of the movie. But I will say this, if you go to see this movie in 3D, I think it's actually, because of the graphics, especially the trippy ones, and some of the fight scenes, actually, I won't say which ones, but some of the fight scenes, like, the 3D really works. Now, I honestly don't think you'll be missing anything if you just see it in regular 2D, other than, you know, you'll miss spending an extra $5 or something like that, if you're lucky. But overall, seeing it in 3D was fun. I'm glad that I did see it in 3D in the theater for the first time. I'll say that much. As for, you know, if you want to just see it in general, or you're not too sure, I wouldn't worry too much about spending that extra money. The special effects might look a little weird, perhaps, without the 3D, but I don't know. Like I said, I saw it in 3D, so that's just my perception. There was one other thing that I want to say. Oh, the humor. I know I mentioned this with Steven, but I keep wanting to say Doctor Strange in general. Like, with him specifically, the humor was really good, but the humor in the movie overall was really well executed. The timing was on point. Just everything about it. And I'm one of the people that really likes the dialogue and the humor of the Avengers movies. I feel like the humor in this one was on point with Guardians of the Galaxy in a lot of ways. That might seem strange, considering the two take place in very different, or they have two very different themes, but overall, the humor was spot on with this. And I did think of one other thing that I wanted to bring up that was actually a favorite part about this movie. And it's that for the first fourth of the movie, I really didn't like Doctor Strange. Like, he's just a flat-out jerk. I actually have meaner words to describe him, but he's just not, like, he's very charming, but at the same time, just not a character that you would really want to see be a good guy, maybe at first. But that does lead to a very powerful character arc, and not just for him. The character arcs in this movie for several different characters are well done and well structured, which is, I mean, again, for relatively short movies like this, as short as Marvel can get, I guess, you know, character arcs can be pretty hard to feel complete, but there's more than one character arc in this movie that feels complete, in my opinion. And it definitely leads up to sequel baiting, but all I'll say about that is, you know, make sure you wait through the credits, all the way through the credits. But yeah, so I mean, I could probably name some other favorite parts of the movie, but again, this is all off the cuff and off the top of my head, so I'm probably forgetting something. I do have an annoyance with the movie, though, and you might be able to guess what it is, knowing who Benedict Cumberbatch is, but I don't understand why they had him do an American accent. I don't understand why so many movies have different British actors do American accents. I just don't understand it. They're in, like, they use their regular accents on TV shows, or Sherlock in Benedict's case, but no, almost all the time when it's a movie, they have to do an American accent, and it's not bad per se. You get used to his accent, or at least I did, as the movie goes on, but in my opinion, it felt almost like it felt like his accent needed some explanation. Like, oh, well, he lives in America. He's lived in America since he was 10 or something like that. But he was born and raised over in Britain. So that's why it kind of sounds like he has a bit of a British accent mixing in with everything else. It's just... And I know that there's a lot, again, there's a lot of British actors, Australian actors, just actors from different countries and have different accents that, you know, they have to act and pretend to have American ones, and it just doesn't quite work. This one worked, again, it worked enough to where I got used to it, but I still feel like it almost needed that explanation to sort of smooth things out. I don't know, that's probably really stupid and understandably a complete nitpick, but overall that's the only real negative thing I have to say about this movie. Just overall, it was really good, highly enjoyable. For some reason I don't feel like I can give it a 5 out of 5 because for some reason it just didn't blow me away, I guess you could say, but it executed excellently in so many other aspects. So I guess I'm kind of like Jill. It's either a 4 or a 5 out of 5. But either way, this movie is highly recommended. If you're a fan of the Marvel movies in general, go see it. If you're a fan of the more mystical things, like, you know, whenever magic has actually come up in the Marvel movies, or just in movies in general, this is definitely the movie for you. And this would be a spoiler if oh yeah, I can't say it. There's a part of the end credits or the post-credit scenes that introduces something that okay, if you want to know what it is I'm struggling with right now, ask me down in the comments. If anyone wants to avoid spoilers, don't look down in the comments, but if you really want to know what it is I'm trying to say, ask me and I'll tell you down in the comments. So there you go. But sorry for the rambling, everyone. I really did enjoy this movie, and I highly recommend you go check it out. It is definitely worth seeing in theaters, and if you feel like seeing it in 3D, you won't feel like you've wasted your money. But I don't think it's a must-see in 3D. I don't think any movie is a must-see in 3D. So, alright, enough rambling. Have a great night, everyone, and I will see you next time on the next video. Until then, later days.